Alfie is a WOR race winner.
Jensen makes it 5 in a row.
Danny Berejnay wins on debut.
Shinaka returns to winning ways in WOR.
Season 12 sees a new man. It's Shadow. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jensen is the new king of PlayStation.
From the back row of the grid, against all odds, Nicholas Longy wins the title.
Goes past the safety car.
What has gone on here?
Bourbon spin, stunning move from the Spaniard.
He's taken out Rambo. Here comes Longy.
Look on one.
Oh, he's taking him out.
The captain Rogers complete.
Tomek to the inside.
Shadow wins the Brazil. Absolutely sensational.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to WOR. We are here tonight for season number 13. It is round number, I think it's 5 of the championship as we take in the British Grand Prix from the Silverstone International Circuit. We are finally home in WOR. My name is James Head, of course. I'm going to take you through the stream, as always, on this fine Friday evening, a very chilly Friday evening in the commentary box tonight. And joining me in the commentary box is Mr. Bucket Hat himself. It is Mr. Aidan Carter. Aidan, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I was waiting for the comment on the bucket hat. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, looking forward to this one. It's going to be hopefully a really, really exciting race. Last time out in Australia was good fun to watch. It was definitely a very interesting race. So hopefully we get the same from Silverstone. And yeah, Silverstone always a great track, provides great racing. So I expect nothing really less from these drivers. And the good thing tonight as well is that we are back up to proper numbers this evening with the amount of drivers we've got racing tonight. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, 15 full-time drivers, I believe. A few reserves coming in from F2, a few reserves coming in from out the league as well. It's obviously going to be very interesting to see how drivers will get on out on track. Looking at the drivers standing straight into it, of course, here tonight. Rowan leading the way. 3 wins in a row, backed it up in that treble, of course, in Bahrain, in America, of course, for round 3 in Miami, and then Australia last week. He was absolutely potent, I think, out on track. 81 points currently hit to his name. Jensen there in second and 45. His points tally, I don't think, really tells the story of his season. He's been so unlucky, I think, in Bahrain and Australia, with obviously DNFs there. Kauflidis in third, the Greek on 42 points, and Krypton in fourth on 30, been ever consistent in his results so far this season. Mahima there in fifth on 28 on Namaya. I pronounce the same thing. Denzo, I think, is also up there on 28 points in sixth position. There's a little bit of a glitch there on the driver's standings, at least. Aroka there on 27 points in sixth, and then seventh, sorry, Aroka. Kazizel there in eighth on 25, Smalley in ninth on 24, and then Frankie in 10th on 15. And there you've got all of the drivers on the rundown in towards the top 22 positions that I could certainly fit on the drivers' standings. Rowan, though, third time's a charm, of course. He picked up 6 points, remember, in the sprint race a couple of weeks ago as well. So that's why he's got that 81 points and not the 75 points that is showing on your screens. But he is an absolute class above the rest so far. Can anybody stop him coming into tonight in Silverstone?
It's going to be hard, isn't it? We kind of said it last time out that we were kind of relying on Jensen really to be the one to try and put a stop to it, since he's the only other driver to win a race this season, and he couldn't do it last time out in Australia. He blew it pretty early on in that race. So yeah, Rowan's been on such a hot streak, and to think he has a 36 point championship lead. There we go. Forget the word in the sentence, but there you go. Considering he has that big of a lead in the championship, and he didn't take part in the first race at all, and the person that is second in the championship won the first race of the season. That is a massive point swing in just 3 rounds. That is such a domination of the last 3 events from Rowan. If he'd been here for the first race, Lord knows he could have been close to 60 points in the championship lead if he'd won that race and Jensen hadn't scored maybe on that event. So he's had such a dominant run in the last 3 rounds. It's going to be really, really difficult for anybody to stop him. And I think the worrying thing as well is that those 3 wins have come on 3 very, very different circuits, haven't they? Bahrain's all about straight line speed and overtaking and trying to keep it ahead of the DRS train. Miami is all about keeping out the wall. It's a really, really fast circuit. And then Australia is a little bit slower and it's a little bit more technical. And Rowan's dominated all 3 events. So I think coming into Silverstone, it's again going to be really, really hard to beat Rowan tonight.
Yeah, definitely so. Let's have a look, though, at the track map in question. The drivers have now loaded into the lobby. 5.8 kilometres and then 3.6 mile, 18 turns. You don't need to know these facts, to be honest, guys, in the comment section there. But 18 turns, of course, rated our drivers out on track. Just the 2 DRS zones, one down the Wellington Straight, of course, named after the famous World War II airfield and named after the famous Wellington bombers. And then, of course, down in the hangar straight down in towards turn 15, marking this, of course, formerly an airfield in World War II, as I already mentioned. And straight into qualifying, of course, we have joined a little bit late into qualifying. One of the Mercedes is first man out on track. McLaren, Ferrari, all leaving the pit lane. Drivers are actually lagging coming out of the pit lane for me, which is not great news whatsoever. Hopefully, though, we will get some action out on track. And indeed we do. Jensen, I think, is the first man out on track. And he, of course, is running the new Ferrari livery that has been put into the game. The only Ferrari livery that is now in the game, may I add, as well. But Jensen, one of the first men out on track. I think Frankie is potentially the first man out on track as well. Know him quite well from PSGL F2. How do we rate both Jensen and Frankie's chances coming into tonight?
It's gonna be hard, I think, for really any of them to really shine, I would say. I think Jensen, obviously, you've got to say is one of the favourites, like I mentioned earlier on, to be the one to challenge Rowan. He's won a race this season. He's finished on the podium as well at Miami. He's had speed all season long, but maybe not been able to get the results together. And I think that's just kind of a summary of what Jensen's whole league racing season has been like on this game. He's had the pace, but not been able to finish it off, really. So if he can finish it off tonight, there is no doubt Jensen will definitely be at the front. As for Frankie, I think he's a little bit more of an unknown. I think we haven't really seen much from, I would say, a lot of the drivers in this field. We haven't really seen, I think, the best from a lot of these drivers. You mentioned Kryptonite's currently 4th in the championship, but I don't think we've really seen Kryptonite that much this season. He's just been so consistently scoring in the mid part of the top 10, but not really featuring at the front of the field. But that consistency has kept him 4th in the championship, and I think we're seeing a lot of that from a lot of drivers this season. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a shot in the dark for a lot of these drivers, but hopefully we get somebody new at the front tonight, somebody to spice it up just that little bit more.
Yeah, it could be this man here, Gil, coming through the right-hand turn number 1 at Abbey, through the left-hand turn number 2 at Farm, and then through the right-hand turn number 3 at Village before he, of course, hits the loop. In fact, I think it was not Frankie, the first man out on track. It was Gil, the first man out on track. So I'll correct myself on there. Now coming through the left-hand turn number 5 through Aintree Corner, famously, of course, held before the 1950s, before it actually became a Formula 1 race. Through Aintree, now holds the Grand National, of course. 27.4 in the first sector, now through Brooklands, and then into the right-hander of Luffield, where my co-commentator famously sat in a British touring car race, I think, last year around here. Gil now coming down the straight down in towards Woodcote, and now down the old pit straight in towards the right-hander of turn number 9, of course, at Cops Corner. The old turn number 1 misses the curb at 175 mile an hour. You can normally carry through there. Gil a little bit sketchy coming through there. 167 mile an hour carried. Not sure if it's actually raining out on track. It does look very overcast currently in the conditions. As now Gil comes through the right-hander there of Maggots and Beckett's. Now through Chapel on the run down the straight. 103.7 in the middle sector. However, though, I've just spied he's invalidated, I think, coming through Maggots and Beckett's. I think Jensen is now the next man out on track. 103.2 in the middle sector. So he was already 5 tenths up compared to Gil in that middle sector himself. Of course, season 12 champion VSR Jensen hasn't really had the run of form so far. And now Jensen comes in toward the left-hander of Vale and then through the right-hand of Club Corner onto the embankment of the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight on the run to the line. 26.9 to start off the night. And that's probably the quickest first lap I've seen actually on this game. Set, and Jensen now out on top, Frankie there in second.
Yeah, that's a pretty good lap time, like you say, on the board straight away for Jensen. I think we're going to see this field be very, very close. I think Silverstone's one of those tracks where a lot of drivers are always at the limit throughout the times, as Harry now goes to the top of the timesheets in that Red Bull car. So not a bad lap time to start off the session for Harry as well. I'm on board with Joey Bissell, who's just crossed the line and has gone P5 on a 27.2 in the Mercedes, but we've got more people coming to the end of laps now. Robbie's coming to the end of a lap now in the Haas. He'll come around the final corner and crosses the line, goes P5 on a 27.1. Ace is the other driver to get in the 26s with a 0.995 at the very end of his lap as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a very close qualifying session. There's going to be a lot of drivers very, very close at the end of this one. I would not be shocked if we see drivers separated by less than hundredths of a second. But as I say that, Nemaya comes across the line and puts nearly 2/10 on the field with a 26.7 for the first lap in the session. So what you were saying about Jensen's first lap being great, Nemaya's just gone and absolutely smashed it.
Yeah, 10th and a half, nearly, in fact, 2/10 clear compared to Harry there in second, Jensen there in third. Harry, by the way, has had famous moments this week in the Shizou Racing Championship. A little bit of controversy, let's just say, between FER and the organisers of Shizou Racing Championship. I can speak freely now because I'm actually the commentator there and here tonight, which is quite good. Nahima, though, out on top, Harry in second, and Jensen there in third. Not sure if any drivers are on a lap. Steph has backed off his lap. Robbie there in sixth position. Brand new driver, of course, to the league tonight. Frankie there in seventh as well. I think we've got a Rocker and Aquila on a lap as well. Rocker's invalidated. Aquila, though, is coming to the end of the first sector split. 29.3, not on a lap, but I think he's going to run out of fuel on this lap as well, as everyone now will embark to come back in the pit lane as Gil is back out on an out lap.
Yeah, just come back out on that lap, like you say. I'm just riding on board with some other drivers that are actually just diving into the pit lane as I say that, so not really much to commentate on there in that terms of things. Aquila's going for another lap in the Alpine then, just invalidated, I think, in the first sector last time out, so has managed to be able to build up enough ERS to go for another full out attack, but seems to be off the power once again. He seemed to have a pretty solid first sector, but he's backed off again in the middle part of the lap, unfortunately, as the Alpine driver, so we're not going to see a good lap here from Aquila either, which is a bit of a shame, because Aquila was one of those kind of standouts last time out in Australia, wasn't he? Wasn't obviously fighting for the win, but he was in the top 5 for the majority of the race. Didn't quite get the result he would have wanted with a late mistake, but either way, had a really, really strong performance for the first time in the top tier. So Aquila, again, will be another one to keep an eye on tonight. But after the first ones in qualifying, only 12 drivers with times on the board at the moment, suggesting to me a lot of drivers are right on the limit with chat limits around here.
Yeah, definitely so. Gil, though, on the run toward the line, on the run down and toward the right-hander of turn number 1. Karafalidis on the lap as well, so go on board with him very soon indeed. Actually, he's on an out lap at this stage. But Gil now coming to the left-hander of turn number 2, then through the right-hander turn number 3, of course, at Village, and then in toward the loop section at turn number 4. Embarking now on toward... Embarking, I think, is my favourite word tonight, by the way. Coming through the right-hander, the left-hander of turn number 5, on the run down the straight in towards turn number 6. Normally, you look for a 27.3 in the first sector, 27.4 there or thereabouts, I think, from Gil in the first sector. Of course, track evolution is going to be key. Of course, if we don't get any of that wet stuff that is going to be potentially happening towards the end of qualifying. Nahima out on top, Harry in second, Jensen there in third. Gil looking quite good, though, on a lap, on the run down in towards Copse Corner at turn number 9. Pretty much halfway through the lap. Of course, Hamilton and Kovalainen famously went side by side in 2008 in very wet conditions, as there is a yellow flag in sector 3. It's just one of the Aston Martins, I think, preparing up for an outlap. I think that might be Dan Spring just preparing up for an outlap, as now Gil now comes through. Chapel on the run down at the hangar straight. What a 3.2. He's there or thereabouts with Nahima's middle sector. So this is looking like a quick, consistent lap from Gil. Of course, one of the many drivers that have been taking part in the Shizou Racing Championship for FVR. Gil, very quick man on his day as well. Somebody, I think, has just spun out the pit lane. One of the Mercedes, I think that was. Gil now coming through the right-hander of 16 and 17 through Vale Corner, now through Club Corner on the run to the line. Is it going to be quickest? Not quite, but he goes 5th, 26.9.
Yeah, not a bad lap there from Gio. I think a lot of the time he actually lost to Namayo in the first part of the lap, so he didn't really kind of gain it back by the end. But either way, still a decent lap, 2.5 tenths off of pole position at the moment. I'm just riding on board with Karafalidis, who's just gone through Copse Corner. Currently last on the grid without a time on the board, but podium last time out. Currently sitting third in the standings, just 3 points behind Jensen in that battle for second at the moment. So he's got his eyes firmly set on Jensen to try and take that second place away and then maybe try and close in on the top of the championship, if at all possible. But yeah, 103.3 through the middle sector was slightly up on Gil's time in the first sector, but he's dropped a bit of time in the middle part of the lap. The car did seem to understeer quite a lot through Maggots and Beckett, so maybe not quite as hooked up as he would have wanted in this qualifying session as he heads into the final sector. Just touches the sausage curb on the inside of both parts of that chicane to try and get the car rotated, and then up through the final corner. Karafalidis crosses the line, goes P7 on a 27 flat. So started off the lap well with a pretty decent first sector, but the time just seemed to kind of ebb away from him as the lap went on, unfortunately for Karafalidis.
Gilles just spun coming through Chapel. He was going for another lap, I think, on track, but he has gone off track coming through Chapel. So he spun coming through there. Jensen's on the end of his lap as well, 103.2 in the middle sector. The Ferrari now on the run to the line. In fact, I think he's on an out lap, so that's a timing glitch there. Unfortunately, that's been added as a recent patch. Nahima there on top, though. Harry in second, Jensen third. I'm above with FER Harry, though. 500 up in the first sector. He needs to find a little bit more time, I think, in the middle sector to try and challenge, of course, the pole lap so far of Nemaya out on top. But we are halfway through qualifying. Nemaya out on top. Harry second, Jensen third. Harry, though, FER Harry coming towards the end of his lap, and we're right on board with the Red Bull. Now coming through Chapel on the exit down the hangar straight. 102.9 in the middle sector. Very quick indeed from the Red Bull, as now we come down in towards Stowe Corner once again through 10.15 and then in towards Vale and Club, of course, at 16 and 17. Verstappen and Vettel famously made contact, of course, in, I think it was 2019 around here. So Harry comes through the right-hander of turn 17, through the right-hander of turn 18. This is going to be pole. What laps are going to be? 26.6. How do you like them apples? He's 500s clear of Nemaya, who responds, coming to the line. Doesn't actually improve in terms of his lap. I think he's just gone on one. Jensen, I was on a flyer.
Yeah, Jensen on a pretty decent lap. Great first sector from the Ferrari driver, and is a 103 flat in the middle part of the lap, so not quite the same level as Harry. I was on board with Steph, who had a great first sector, but lost all of the time at the very end of the second sector and couldn't improve, unfortunately. Jensen then through the final set of the lap is going to throw it into that final chicane, see what kind of time he can do. Kryptonite's on a lap just in front of him on the road, I believe. Kryptonite goes P14 with their 27.4, but here comes Jensen around the final corner, and he goes to the top of the timesheets now by 300ths of a second. Pretty decent lap there from Jensen. Great final sector as well. He's managed to find a 10th on Harry in the final sector of the lap. So Jensen holds the fastest final sector of anybody. We'll see if Nemaya can respond, but Nemaya is invalidated on his latest run, so he won't be improving at the moment.
Yeah, he won't be improving at the moment indeed. I was honestly on the verge of wetting myself in terms of Jensen's final couple of corners there. That was absolutely picture perfect. If you want to gain the time, right on board with Jensen's lap as a repeat, watch it back, because that is how you take Vale and Club around here at Silverstone. Absolutely perfect. Minimal revs in the fourth gear. Beautiful stuff. Jensen now out on top. Harry in second. Nemaya there in third. But he can still be reached, though, in terms of a possible pole position lap. I know Frankie is on a lap as well. He's actually just set a quick lap, I think. 26.9 in that final sector. So he goes fifth. So good lap there from Frankie. Robbie is on a lap as well. 27.4. Outplayed racing. He, though, minimally runs over Cop's corner. And the track limits through there is an absolute joke. And Robbie, unfortunately, has invalidated his lap.
Yeah, unfortunately invalidated. Like you say, it was 2/10 up on his personal best. Still not the best first sector we've seen so far, but it was up on his time. But yeah, not going to improve, unfortunately, for tonight. So we'll just see if anybody else is on up. I think everybody's pretty much done with their runs as it stands. Aquila had improved on the previous lap to a 27.2 to go P10 in that Alpine car. So other than that, I think pretty much everybody is done with their laps for this next run, at least. I'm just actually seeing if Nemaya's on. Nemaya is on a run, actually, at the moment, just going for a second lap on this set of soft compound tyres. And this is probably one of the only tracks where you can do 2 laps on the soft compound tyres in qualifying and it not hurt you too much, because the tyre wear around here isn't as brutal as it is at other tracks. He's only 200ths down in the first sector is Nemaya in the Aston Martin, so if he can find anything in the middle part of the lap, but he just misses the apex of Copse there ever so slightly, that might cost him a bit of time in the run to Maggots and Beckett's. He had to downshift into 7th as well to compensate for that, so we'll see him through the middle part of this lap. Again, a little bit of understeer midway through Maggots and Beckett's, using the grass on the exit as he comes through Chapel, and yeah, it's not finding any time on this lap at the moment, is Nemaya, so I doubt, unless he sets an amazing final sector, I doubt this is going to be an improvement, unfortunately, from the Aston Martin driver. We'll probably see him dive into the pit lane if he doesn't find any time in Stowe, and there we go, he is into the pit lane. So yeah, on that second run at least, Nemaya couldn't find any time to go back to the top of the timesheets. There's got a few people running a little bit out of sequence of everybody else, just trying to get a bit of clear track, and then if they do happen to make a mistake on this lap, they can bail in and have enough time to go again at the very end of the session. So I think Steph, one of the first drivers out there on a lap, actually never mind, Gilles is a bit further around a lap at the moment. He's a 10th up in the first sector, and he's nearly 2/10 up in the middle sector. So Gilles finding some good time in that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, 103 flat in the middle sector. It's not the quickest that we've seen, though, in the middle sector. So obviously, Gilles got to try and find a bit of time. Got to try and replicate, basically, Jensen's final couple of corners through Vale and Club Corner. Jensen out on top, Harry second, Amaya there in third, Axay and Frankie coming around the top 5, but I think Gil is going to put himself in the top 5 here, maybe with an Axay and Frankie. Goes third, actually, ahead of Amaya. Found a lot of time in that final sector. Good 10th and a half, at least in terms of improvement. Jensen out on top, Harry now in second, Gil there in third. Steph as well is on a lap. He's approaching toward the end of his lap. He's 600s up, coming through Maggot and Beckett. As I'm going to have a look at the chat. South Florida Super, by the way, in the chat saying, it's almost like you guys forgot esports on today. Trust me, we didn't. We just get paid to do this for the pleasure and obviously to try and entertain you guys as well. I wish, to be honest, we were commentating on esports guys, but these guys could potentially be esports guys, of course, going forward in the future. Steph, though, is backed off in his middle sector, and he's back into the pit lane. Not sure if anybody else looked Carafalidis at the end of the middle sector.
Yeah, just keeping an eye. Great middle sector, actually, for Carafalidis. First sector wasn't amazing, but yeah, it's found another 2/10 in the middle part of the lap. So this could put him up in that fight for the front 2 rows of the grid if he nails this final sector. Whoa! But just too much understeer with the mid part of Stowe and had to sharpen up the exit, and that cost him big time, and he's gone into a bit of a tank slap on the exit of the corner. That is so easy to do through Stowe. If you just understeer that little bit too much at the apex of the corner, you have to overcorrect the car on the exit, and you can so easily spin. We see it in real life all the time, and Carafalidis proving it is very much the same on the game as well there. That is a shame, actually, because that was looking like a really strong lap from the McLaren driver, but luckily for him, he does have another opportunity to go again and try and improve on that time. He's not got a huge amount of breathing space in terms of how much time he's got left in the session, but he should just have enough time to go out for one last run. So it's not all completely game over for Carafalidis, but that could have been such a good lap, and it's kind of been thrown away there, unfortunately. And on board with Line Violet, who's one of the next ones on a lap, but again, not looking too great of a lap, unfortunately, from the Williams driver. Is not looking fully competitive with the front of the field, and only goes 15th with that latest run, and that will be Line Violet's last run of the session. There won't be enough time to get back around to do another run. So 15th is the best we will see from the Williams driver tonight.
All I'm now going to question is, how's Axay crashed down the hangers, the middle of the Wellington Straight? I cannot understand that for the sake of my life, how he has crashed there. I think he's been trying to maybe get another lap in, potentially, maybe to get around and get another lap in. And he crashed, I think, where, I think it was Raikkonen around it was a few years ago, it was like 2015, 2016, I think. He crashed, I think, coming out of Aintree Corner. And it's exactly what's happened. He basically got cannoned, I think, into. Jensen, by the way, is on the lap as well, so right on board with him for now. But Axay, 5th position, out down the Wellington Straight, one of the weirdest crashes I think I've ever seen, certainly. Jensen through the first sector, though, 800s up already, and he's sent a very blistering first sector.
Yeah, really good first sector. Another person who's on a decent first sector on their run is Kryptonite, currently down in 17th. Kryptonite's not been known for his strong qualifyings this season, but he's always great in race condition. Currently, as proven with that 17th position at the moment, but a 10th and a half up in the first sector. We'll see them into the middle sector. 4/10 up on his personal best. Still not the best we've seen so far, but this could get him a lot further up the grid than he currently is. So we'll just see where the Mercedes driver is through this final set of the lap. Can he keep it on the road through Stowe? Nice and easily done through there. No problems whatsoever with track limits as he heads into the Vale and Club chicane. Just missing the apex of Vale ever so slightly there, but it's not going to cost him too much, I wouldn't imagine, in the run to the line. Where can Kryptonite put that Mercedes? It goes P6 in the end, so a great improvement from there from the Mercedes driver to go from 17th to 6th. Just got to ride on board with Jensen to the end of his run. Can he improve on his current pole position time? Can he go any further ahead at the top of the timesheets? Lovely through the final part of the lap, crosses the line, and wow, finds nearly 2/10. And can either Harry Gill or Maya respond to that?
Potentially so, potentially so. Hopefully everything is okay now with the stream. I think I cut out there slightly, but it's okay now. Jensen out on top, Harry in second. Harry's 2/10 down in the first sector. I think he's done with. Gil is just on an invalid lap time as well. He's going to get another one potentially. Namaya, I think, has just gone on to a lap. Krypton is done. Frankie, though, coming through the middle sector. Coming through Abbey and Farm, even. I thought it was coming through the middle sector there at Maggots of Beckers. He's not. Steph is on a lap as well. Carafalidis on a lap. I think majority of drivers are on a lap, apart from Robbie, who was coming through the middle sector, 3/10 up in the middle sector, and the Haasman is flying on this lap. A 103 flat in the middle sector, up there with Jensen's middle sector. And do you know what? OP Robbie could potentially challenge the top guys here with Jensen, Harry, Gil, Namaya, all currently sitting in the 26.6s, 26.7s. Robbie very good, coming out of Stowe Corner, now in toward Vale and Club. The Haasman now coming through, not as good as Jensen through there. Might be around the 26.9 mark, I think, from Robbie on the run to the line. makes me look like an absolute fool. 26.7, 3.5 tenth improvement. Namaya is up in through the middle sector as well. He's actually backed off, I think, on his lap, though. Harry to the line doesn't improve. He was a 10th down in the middle sector, 8 tenths down in the final sector. Gale on the lap as well, 27.3 for him. Krypton has done in terms of a lap. We'll get more improvements as we go. I think Fedus Piga has gone into 9th position as well for Outplayed Racing. Mika, Akila, Jerry, Lars Kramer all done. Gale up there in the middle sector again, 500s up in that middle sector. Currently looking good. Something has caught your eye, I think.
I was just riding. I was riding with an Amaya, and he had a spin on his lap. Unfortunately, did the Aston Martin driver? Oof!
And
someone's gone off the road big time there at the final corner.
I think it was actually Dan Spreen, potentially. He's back in the pit lane. Gale on the run to the line, goes second for Alfa Romeo. So it's an Ferrari Alfa Romeo 1-2. And Gale comes in there. The Aston Martin probably would have put him off, I think, there. I'm sure that was Dan Spreen. I don't think it was an Amaya backing off that lap, but it's Jensen out on top, the Frenchman of Gale. First performance and first race here this season. In there in second. Good performance from him. We know his pace. Harry there in third. Namaya in fourth. Robbie on debut in fifth. Very good debut from him. Axe in sixth. Steph in seventh. Krypton in eighth. Frankie in ninth. Fedus Piga round off the top 10. Cow Felidas in 11th. Smalley in 12th. Mika 13th. Akila 14th. Then Jerry in 15th. Lars Kramer 16th. Ryan Violet 17th. Noah in 18th. And then Dan Spreen and the Rocker didn't actually get lap times validated on their laps. They're right down at the back of the field. But it's Jensen out on top, Gale alongside him on the front row of the grid. We are going to take a slight intermission break, of course, from our sponsors here, powered by Grid Finder, and we'll be back in 30 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to WOR, to World Online Racing, powered by Grid Finder. We are here in a very overcast Silverstone International Circuit for, of course, the race that is going to develop. And already starting a 30-second countdown. These guys are not holding back. Jensen out on top. We were just saying in the intermission break, Rowan not here. Perfect opportunity for Jensen to obviously counteract and get points to his tally.
Yeah, 36 back, 25 on offer here. Great opportunity for him to get back within striking distance of Rowan at the top of the championship with him not being here. So while he's got the opportunity, Jensen has to grab it with both hands.
He does indeed. We are now... I hope this is not a fake 30-second countdown. I think we're going to go in, though, for the 5 red lights that are going to be going out here in Silverstone. Of course, no formation app on. 5 red lights are now on here at Silverstone, and it is... lights out and away we go, and Jensen, I think, slow off the start. Gale slow off the start as well, and he's already going to get done by Harry in towards turn 1 at Abbey. Jensen leads through Abbey, Harry in second. Gale in third, and he's been spun round the outside, and there's contact further down the field, I think, as well. A Rocker, Gale, Fedus Piga, I think, caught up in that certainly. Jensen out on top, Harry in second. More forcing wide coming through the village section. I think that was Krypton and Namaya coming into contact there. Fedus Piga's got a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. I think he's spun, and also spinning further down the field is Mika, the Talent Factory man, right down the back of the field is spun. Fedus Piga with that 10-second penalty might get removed. Steph and Krypton now side by side down in towards Brooklands. Not sure if Krypton's got a bit of left side end plate down. Potentially on the car now has. He's absolutely collected Lars Kramer, who was off there on the grass as well, coming through Lovefield. Jensen out on top. Harry in second. Robbie up a few positions up to third. But an absolute dire start from Gale all the way down in 16th off the line.
Yeah, a real disaster start for the Alfa Romeo driver, and I think Namaya caught up in the aftermath of that as well, having to go off the road to avoid the spin. Has dropped down to 10th as we've got side by side, Karafalidis and Jerry going side by side through Maggots and Beckett's, and Jerry's going to pull the move off. Lovely move there for the Mercedes driver. Mercedes driver only one to start this race on the soft compound tyre, and so far at least it has worked beautifully. He is up 9 places on this opening lap to 6th position, so the soft tyres have worked beautifully at the start of this race for Jerry. We're just seeing the rest of the tyres, of course, for the rest of the field, the top 4 all on that hard compound tyre, which is the preferred strategy, but obviously with these overcast conditions, it's not going to be the grippiest of tyres. And Frankie here on the mediums trying to attack, but Frankie has a big snap through the final corner, and that's going to give Jerry potentially another position on the run into Abbey Corner. It does so. Jerry already up 10 places at the start of this race, up into 5th position. Those soft tyres at the start have worked beautifully for the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, got to be careful with track limits all coming through turn 1. He did extend Kauflides down the inside line. Goes for a reckless move down the inside there with Frankie. Frankie now ahead, and Steph is now ahead as well. The Alpine nearly inside of each other, unfortunately, the McLaren there. Jerry now overtaking Axel all the way down in towards Brooklands at turn number 6. And do you know what? I thought he was going to get Robbie in towards that section as well. Out on track. My God, if he got that move done, I think I would have been cashing my check right now. But Jerry has absolutely flown off the start. 4th position now. I'll get all the telemetry and the lap data up for you guys so you can see what's going on. Jensen out on top, Harry in 2nd, Robbie there in 3rd. Looking at the position gains, as Aidan mentioned, 11 positions lost for Geel, 11 positions in turn gained for Jerry on that sort of soft compound tyre. Now they're only going to last around 7 or 8 laps perhaps. Frankie and Axel, I think, were nearly going side by side and towards Maggots and Beckett's there as well. But those softs are only going to last around 7 or 8 laps. So Jerry has got to make them last and make them work now rather than try and hold back and obviously wait for potential moves to come from in behind. And speaking for moves in behind, Frankie down the inside of Axel in towards Stowe. Beautiful move. Absolutely petrifying from Frankie, and he's through and he's into 5th position. He's also gained 4 positions. Jerry now gained to 12th position and he's up into 3rd, passing Robbie.
Yeah, Jerry's doing exactly what he needs to do on this strategy, which is gain places early on and go through the field. Fastest lap of the race that time was round, as well as you would expect on those soft compound tyres. To make this kind of strategy work, you have to be gaining places early on in this race before the DRS is enabled, and Jerry's done that beautifully. So now if there's no safety cars, even if he's not on the preferred strategy, he's putting himself in contention for a top 5 finish here by doing this kind of by overtaking this many people at the start of the race. And I don't think he's done yet because he is very close to the back of Harry in that Red Bull. Is he going to be close? And look at the straight line speed for that Mercedes. Even in the DRS train behind the Red Bull, he didn't really have to worry about having to make that an out-braking maneuver. He just kind of breezed past in a straight line, even in the DRS train. So that Mercedes is frighteningly fast in a straight line, even with the soft compound tyre on. So I would not be surprised if we give it maybe a few corners time and we're out of Maggots and Beckett's. Will Jerry get the move on Jensen and take the lead from 15th on the grid?
And remember, this is only lap 3 that we're on as well. Jerry out on Jerry chasing down Jensen. Look at the speed he's coming through Maggots and Beckett as well. A little bit sketchy coming through the exit of Beckett. I don't think he's going to get him a bit of a slide as well. Harry's going to be let in for perhaps a chance down in towards Stowe Corner. I think Frankie's going to be on the back of Robbie as well. I think he made a mistake just in behind as well. I think everyone now settling down into their rhythm, and it's Jensen out on top. Jerry in 2nd. For all of that pace, has he gone too hard too early? Harry there in 3rd. Maya is through, and Kauflides has been spun further down the field. What happened with Kauflides?
I think there might have been contact there between Kauflides and Maya.
Oh, Frankie!
I'm not quite sure.
Frankie around the outside.
Yeah, around the outside. Lovely move. Yeah, beautiful stuff on the way into Abbey. Gets the move done, but crucially for Frankie, he is very low on ERS already, so really struggling to maintain that ERS around this track. There's not a lot of heavy braking zones around here, so it's hard to save ERS around this track, so that could potentially cost Frankie later on. But of course, he's on the medium tyre, so he's got to gain places just like Jerry is doing further up. By the way, yeah, I think it was contact between Nemanja and Kauflides that Kauflides just got spun off the side of the Aston Martin, and Nemanja had to go off the road after that contact as well. It's allowed Steph to pass the pair of them, and he's back up into 7th after not the best of starts for the Alpine driver either. So he's recovered nicely, and this is a shame for Kauflides. Like, obviously Jensen is trying to capitalise tonight on Rowe not be here. Kauflides is only 3 points behind Jensen, so he had a great opportunity to try and capitalise on Rowe not being here either, and at the moment down in 17th, not scoring points. He is not taking advantage of that opportunity, having made 2 mistakes already in this race. So yeah, not the race that Kauflides needed.
Yes, unfortunate for Kauflides. I think honestly he has got the pace. Obviously he's on the back of Meek there for 16th position. Jerry has gone a bit too hard too early, I think, in 2nd. Just watching him again through Maggots and Beckett's. Jensen pulls away on the exit of Chapel on the run down the straight. Further down the field, I think Geel on the back of a Rocker is going to be interesting. A Rocker mentioned in the comment section as well, he was having a pedals problem, which was not great in qualifying. I think he's fixed them now, though, which is good. And he's there in 11th position, still going strong. And, of course, he's gained 9 positions from the start as well, and looking quite good as well as he does that. Everyone, majority, though, on a sort of hard compounded tyres. Lars Craven already been in the pit lane for front wing change, I think, on that sort of soft compounded tyres. Geel, though, all over the back of a Rocker once again. On the run down in towards turn number 1 at Abbey, there was a spinner, and that's Lars Kramer, I think, round coming through Cups corner, so he's gone for a spin further down the field. Geel on the back of a Rocker, not going to get the job done, and everything now beginning to mass, I think, for 3rd position, because Frankie's all over the back of Harry.
Yeah, he's all over the back of Harry at the moment on those medium compound tyres. Is Frankie, like you're saying, Jerry's just got a time penalty as well in second place. So open opportunity now for these drivers a bit further behind. For Jerry now, he's just got to try and cling on to the back of Jensen for maybe the next 3 or 4 laps so that he can extend, put the hard tyres on and take them to the end of the race without having to worry. So that is really what Jerry's got to do with these next few laps, is just try and cling on to the back of Jensen. And I think Frankie potentially battling with that Red Bull behind could help him a little bit in defence mode from the drivers behind. So yeah, we'll see what Frankie can do, but he's not got a lot of ERS to play with as first down. The other Alfa Romeo of Gil was trying to recover back through the field, back up to 11th position now in the Alfa Romeo after that early spin. He's past Rocca, and Aquila is his next target. Aquila and Smalley, fighting over 9th position, have completely fallen off the back of this lead train now. Namaya in 8th, Smalley in 9th. The gap is 2.5 seconds. So you can see the power of DRS around this track. And now here comes Aquila around the outside. Nothing Smalley can do. Aquila breezes past down the hanger straight and up into 9th place.
Yeah, no tequila for Aquila out on top. As Jerry is into the pit lane to the soft compounded tyres. Very early pit stop from Jerry. 3-second penalty as well by Krypton. But yeah, back to my pun that was going to be half-baked there. Aquila has not got any tequila, I think, in terms of his back pocket here tonight. He's there in 8th position, now ahead of Smalley. Jerry, though, interestingly, set of hard compounded tyres. 21 laps on a set of hard compounded tyres. Are they going to be manageable? Is he going for the biggest undercut I think I've ever seen around here at Silverstone?
Yeah, the soft tyres obviously were going off, but even this is a little bit earlier than what I was expecting. But he's got to do it, hasn't he? He may as well just come in now and put a fresh set of tyres on and try something different, rather than just sit and wait for the soft tyres to help him fall down the field. He may as well just get himself in some clean air, put some good lap times in, and see if he can get those hards to the end of the race. The only problem is the people he's racing are on the hard compound tyres, and they'll be moving over to the mediums later on in the race. And because there's only 5 laps on their hard tyres at the moment, there's not going to be that massive pace differential between a fresh set of hards and these 5-lap old set of hards that they're running on at the moment. So I do worry here that when the hard runners pit for their medium compound tyres, Jerry is just going to get swallowed up by the pack. But we shall wait and see how that turns out. I was going to say this is bad for Harry because he dropped briefly at a DRS range from Jensen, but in fact he's burnt all of his ERS to get back within range of the Ferrari. So never mind that statement. Harry is back within DRS range, and that should help him a little bit on, and that's going to hinder Frankie's progress now. So yeah, I think Frankie on those medium compound tyres, he's unlike Jerry. I don't think he's made enough progress in these early laps of the start of this race on those medium compound tyres to really make this strategy work.
Moved on further down the field. Gil making his way through the field after that spin. He's into 9th. The Frenchman passing Smalley down in towards Stowe corner at turn 15. Very good move down the inside line. Obviously well respected, I think, in the league racing community, as is Smalley as well. Of course, former TML driver, remember, and Gil, of course, currently a current PSGL and certainly current Lister's Racing Championship driver. Smalley has dropped it coming out of Village.
Yeah, he's dropped it. I think he just hit the brakes and rear locked, unfortunately. I initially thought it was going to be Arocca's hit the back of him, but Arocca was nowhere near the back of that McLaren. So I think he's just rear locked on a curb and spun the car, which is a real shame for Smalley. Yeah, not been a great race for the McLarens, has it? Carafalides down in 14th, Smalley now down to 16th as he lets Mika through. So yeah, that is a real shame at the start of this race, unfortunately, for Smalley. But that puts Arocca into the top 10 now in that hassle, though he has dropped the DRS range to Gil in front. So he's going to try and burn his DRS to get back within range and make sure that he doesn't get dropped out of the pack like we have seen from the likes of Aquila and that earlier on in this race. It's just to compound the issue, Smalley now gets a 3-second time penalty. So I fear Smalley's race is pretty much over and done with, barring any sort of chaos.
Yeah, he is not liking Silverstone as he out on track at this moment in time. Mika, by the way, the Mika fan club I can see is in the chat, certainly. He's in 15th position on the back of Dan's Green. Harry, by the way, all over the back of Jensen, coming down in towards Stowe. It's only 4.5 tenths of a second now, the gap for the lead. It was 1.4 when Jerry decided to come in the pit lane, remember. So Harry already beginning to pick up the pace on the back of Jensen. Jensen 51% of ERS, only 13% of ERS for Harry. So Harry is gunning it in terms of the ERS. In terms of the advantage for ERS as well, Harry has got to use up, obviously, that ERS to try and catch back up. Think of it basically as Smalley retires into the pit lane. Think of it basically, when you break into a corner, you conserve the energy. When you come out of a corner, you waste away that energy. And Harry has only got about 14% of that energy left. He will gain potentially an extra 20 mile an hour on the run down at the straight here, down in toward Brooklands. But obviously, he's not going to be close enough. He doesn't turn on the ERS whatsoever, and he's 6 tenths away currently. And I think those issues, potentially with that ERS usage, certainly, Frankie has got 30% behind him. So Frankie's on about 12% more than Harry at this stage. Jensen, though, can I say so far dominating this race?
It's hard to say, isn't it? We can't really say dominating because they're all in a DRS train and very close behind. But Jensen is looking very comfortable, isn't he? As Frankie now gets the time penalty. I think the word is Jensen's looking comfortable in this race. He's not looking under any sort of pressure at the moment. Harry behind, like you say, has used so much ERS to get to the back and now is going to be in a conserve it phase. Just conserve the ERS, build it back up for later on. So Jensen's not going to be under really any pressure at this point in the race unless he makes a mistake, which is Jensen. We're not really going to see that kind of mistake. So yeah, I think it's maybe not dominant, but comfortable is the word I would say for Jensen at this point in the races. Into the pit lane comes Frankie, which I think is quite early actually from the mediums to the hard compound tyres. Only 2 laps later than Jerry, but this will be a good representation to see what the kind of lap times Jerry has been doing in clean air without the use of DRS on a fresh set of hard compound tyres. Has he been able to pull away from Frankie, who was only just a second behind before the pit stops, or was it kind of the same? And that will be a bit of a telling point as to whether Jerry and Frankie are going to be features in the end of this race. So that will be interesting to see. And now we've got to try and see Robbie close back into the back of Harry and Jensen to get within DRS range. Problem is, he hasn't done it down the Wellington straight, and he's got absolutely no ERS to play with. So if he doesn't get back within DRS range down the Hangar straight, I fear Robbie's here going to be a bit of a sitting duck to the 3 drivers behind.
Frankie, by the way, is a mile ahead of Jerry coming out the pit lane. That strategy, going onto that sort of hard compound tyres, yes, he's going to catch back up on this first lap. That is the wrong call. However, Frankie looked very cold, nearly spins it, coming out of turn number 3 at Village. Now through turn number 4, 3 seconds now the gap comes to show. Clear there of Jerry in 17th position. Jensen out on top, Harry there in 2nd, Robbie there in 3rd. We lost you there for a second, I think, but hopefully we're back live. And now Axe is all over the back of Robbie. And in fact, Robbie doesn't even want to defend this position. Through he goes into 3rd position. Axe, very easy stuff. And now Robbie beginning now to tread on water, perhaps, in terms of that early strategy that he did, obviously, to try and get back through the field on that set of hard compound tyres. Of course, gaining many positions off the start, only actually 1 position change, so just ignore what I said there for the last 20 seconds or so. Jensen still out on top, lap 10 out of 26, just beginning. Harry there in 2nd, Axe in 3rd. And do you know what? It's actually a smart move by Robbie as Karaflides comes in the pit lane, probably for a set of hards as well. Axe, I think it's quite smart from Robbie. Axe now has got the pace over Harry. Potentially, he's been running in that DRS train for a little bit. Robbie now can use him basically to try and fend off the guys behind, the likes of Steph, the likes of Nemaya. And I think this is going to work out because look at the gap. Axe already just within a second down the Wellington straight.
Yeah, I think Axe had a better chance of getting back with the DRS range than Robbie did with the ERS that they both have. So Robbie's just going to lose the place now and maybe gain it back later on, just save a bit of ERS. And use the Red Bull to try and pull himself back to the leaders of this race. So, yeah, smart move there from Robbie not to fight that one too hard. And the problem as well is if they do start fighting too hard, they're just going to fall straight back into the clutches of Aquila Gil and Rocco. That is one thing to note as well. Since Aquila got that move done on Smalley and took the lead of this second train, they've not lost time to the drivers in front. In fact, it's pretty much stayed level pegging at about 3.2 seconds, and that is for Aquila leading that train with no help of DRS. So Aquila's got good pace in clean air. If they do start to split up at the front of the field and start battling with one another, then you can't count the likes of Aquila, Gil and Arocca out of this race. And as I say that, Gil is going to breeze past Aquila up into 7th place, and we know how fast Gil is. So Gil here could lead this second train of cars up to the front of this pack if he's got enough pace. So don't count the 7th and 8th place driver out of this one just yet. In clean air, not using DRS as much, they've still got really, really decent pace. And I've been looking at the race director, by the way, as Gil sets fastest lap of the race just to prove that point. I've been looking at the race director of Jerry since he's put... Oh, yeah, he is round. That's a shame. That is a real shame for the speaker who's dropped the car, but he managed to keep it going without any damage by the looks of things. I was looking at the race director for Jerry, by the way. Since he's put those hard compound tyres on, he's actually slower than he was at the start of the race on the soft. So, yeah, I don't think this strategy for Jerry has worked at all.
Yeah, I think it has to be something maybe to do with track temperature, perhaps. Track temperature might have dropped a degree or two, and the tracker and the tyres aren't really warming up. Potentially, Krypton, by the way, is up into 11th. As I say, Fedez Piga spun, I think, either on the curb or just went for a gap, basically a club corner that was not going to be there. Don't know what the OP man was thinking if that was the case, and he's down there in 12th position. Dan Spring currently in 13th position. Jensen out on top though, Harry in second, Axe in third. We should begin to see though the medium runners begin to come in, the set of hard runners I should say, going onto some medium compound size very soon indeed. Axe, by the way, has now got within a second. So Robbie, Steph, Namaya all catching. Gil is pulling 5/10 on these guys already, and that is just a lap since he overtook Aquila and a Rocker. So he's doing a really good job currently, Gil. He looks very, very quick. If it's not for that DRS train ahead, I think he'd be on the back of him in absolute no time. Krypton and Lime Violet, I think, nearly side by side, coming out of Stowe Corner. Lime Violet very slow indeed. Krypton gives him a shove up the rear end there, and he drives to go all the way around the outside of the PSGL. F2 Steward, Lime Violet hits the curb on the inside line. Krypton up the inside line. Job done for Krypton. Had to take that a little bit longer. Very squirrely on the exit of Club Corner. On the run to the line, though, and Krypton there in 10th. Lime Violet there in 11th. So, position move for Krypton through, and he's into 10th and into the points.
Yeah, up into the points now for Kryptonite, a bit further up the field than he would, a bit further down the field than he would have liked, considering the performances he's had so far this season. But yeah, crucially for him, up into the points for the time being. By the way, Gil's fastest lap on that last time around was astonishingly fast for someone driving in clean air with not a lot of ERS and no DRS help. That was a really fast lap from Gil, and now is only 2.6 seconds off the back of Demaya in front. And in fact, Gil's pace is so fast at the moment in this point of the race. He's dropped Aquila completely by about 2 seconds since he overtook him 2 laps ago. So Aquila was keeping up with the train in front, not closing in, but keeping up. And now since Gil's passed him, he's just been completely dropped by the Alfa Romeo driver. But likewise, Aroka has also been dropped from this train. So the 3 drivers that could have been working together to move forwards have all split up now and are running kind of in their own little bubbles at this point in the race. But yeah, Gil's pace, with no help from any sort of assist in front, is astonishing. So if Gil maybe pits a little bit earlier for those medium compound tyres, tries the undercut and gets back within this range, he could be very fast, as we've already got our first pit stops at the end of lap 12. That is, we're not even at the halfway point yet. Gil in as well, not a surprise. Like I said, Gil come in to try and close into the back of this train. But at the end of lap 12, for a set of medium compound tyres, they're going to be going 14 laps on the mediums. So I think it's doable. But if you're someone like Jensen, do you just stay out for maybe 3 or 4 laps longer and just get the better compounded tyre for the end of the race?
I would say maybe stay at another lap or 2 potentially for Jensen, and then see how the land lies with Harry obviously coming out where I think Frankie and Jerry are going to be. He's coming towards the end of the pit lane now. Frankie's coming out the final corner. This is going to be close actually between Harry and Frankie. Coming out of turn number 1. Not quite close there on the track map, but there we go. Frankie's already ahead of Steph, so Frankie ahead of Steph coming out there. He's on that set of hard compound tyres. Obviously got them warmed up now. And Harry is going to be probably outside of a second, I think, to Frankie by the end of this lap. So if I was in Jensen's shoes, I'd probably pit in sooner rather than later to just try and counteract the moves that are going to be happening further down the field. You can already see Steph aggressively weaving down the straight, trying to get heat into those tyres on that set of medium compound tyres. Harry, by the way, I do not want to be a snake in terms of being a steward here. Harry did, unfortunately, cut the white line on the entrance into the pit lane. So if that is getting monitored, Harry is going to get a dire certain penalty as a result.
Yeah, definitely could get a penalty as a result, like you say, if that is the case. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one in the stewards room. Crucially, was Jensen sped? He sped into the pit lane. Oh, my word. We forget as well around Silverstone, of course, it is a 37-mile-an-hour speed limit because it does cut the final 2 corners. Jensen, that is a crucial mistake for a great opportunity for him to dominate and win this race and get right back to the back of Rowan in the championship. That could drop him well down the field and outside of the top 5. So that is a real costly mistake there for Jensen, and a kind of a rookie error, unfortunately. Is that Ace having to... Ace has been stopped in the pit lane to let Robbie out of his pit stop. So Ace has dropped time in the pit lane as well. Not been a good pit stop there, unfortunately, for Jensen or Ace. Robbie's managed to gain from that. Where is Harry going to be in all this? He is behind Jensen on the road, but with that penalty, this is now Harry's race to lose.
It is. Robbie's ahead of Frankie as well, but Frankie's all over the back of him. Coming into the village section, the Alfa Romeo's now going to try the up and under out of village. It should be job done because he's got much quicker tyres. Those mediums are going to get warmed up down the Wellington straight. Frankie is through for now. Robbie, though, has got the DRS in play, and Steph is going to make it 3-1. He slingshots off the both of them down the inside line in towards Brooklands. Beautiful stuff by Steph. Absolutely sublime. You cannot do that down in towards Brooklands. Robbie and Frankie are still side by side, by the way. Frankie muscling his way, trying to get this position done. done. And now they run side by side in towards Cops. Hamilton and Leclerc style on the run down in towards Cops. I don't think they're going to run side by side. Frankie is behind. Robbie out on track. Robbie through and he's into 8. Frankie in 9. Slingshot to perfection though from Steph as if he'd just been shot out of a cannon. And he's now through and he's into 7th and pulling away from these guys side by side though in behind. And Frankie is round.
Yeah, Frankie tried to go for a move around the outside of Maggots, around the first pile of Maggots, and that was never going to work.
Oh, here comes Harry. Sorry to cut you off, Aiden. Here comes Harry down the inside line for the net race lead. Gets the job done. Jensen hangs it around the outside. Oh, and he makes contact with him. Jensen makes contact. Harry should have gave a little bit more room, I think, on the right-hand side. Jensen, though, all the way, 90% of that was done. It was just the contact on the exit of the corner that unfortunately foresaw Harry back out of the race pretty much. Jensen now in the net lead. In fact, he is in the lead of the race because everyone's came in the pit lane. Steph is now 2nd. Nemaya is in 3rd. Frankie is retired in the pit lane as well, so he's unfortunately out of the race. I was up through the final corner. Just trying to see. That's in the pit lane, I think, for Frankie. But Jensen out on top. Steph in 2nd. Nemaya in 3rd. Drama at Silverstone.
It's all blown up in that lap, hasn't it? Unfortunately, as I was saying, Frankie just kind of drove into the side of Robbie and spun the pair of them out. So they're pretty much out of contention for the win, as Frankie's obviously into the pit lane. I don't understand why Harry went for that move. He surely would have seen that Jensen got a speeding penalty in the pit lane. Why he decided to go for that move and risk such a risky overtake against Jensen, I don't know. He would have won that one on the track anyway with that penalty. He could have just sat behind Jensen and won that one quite easily, but instead he's gone for a high-risk move. It's not paid off. He's spun himself out of contention, and that is a costly mistake. And now that is an open door for Steph to try and walk through, to try and win this race, if Steph can do so. Nemaya as well, pitted latest of anybody onto the medium compound tyres. He'll have the freshest tyres. He's been at the back of the train for the whole race, so we've not really seen what Nemaya's pace is like. Steph and Nemaya now, the two drivers sitting the most comfortable here to try and win this race. Can they get to the back of Jensen? Crucially, Steph, can he keep within the 5-second range of Jensen? Or can Jensen, now that he's got no one behind him, pull away? And if Steph can keep in range, can he hold Nemaya off for the win of this race? As Ace has managed to get past Jerry and up into 4th. So a podium still on the cards for Ace. But yeah, opportunity now for Jensen to try and build a 5-second gap. If he can't, opportunity for Nemaya to try and get up to Steph and past him for the win of this race.
Yeah, Ace through and he's into 4th. It was a little bit easy, to be honest. Jerry, by the way, spun on the exit. I don't know how he kept it in a straight line. Nearly spun, pretty much 3/4 round, coming out of Stowe corner, flicked it the right way, and on he goes, and he's still in 5th position. That was an unbelievable recovery from the Mercedes man. Robbie there in 6th, Geel there in 7th. Watch out, though, for these guys in behind. Geel, especially, is quick. Robbie, we know, is very quick on his day as well. The OP man in 6th position. They're chasing down a hard runner who is now outside of a second to exit. So this is pretty much now Groundhog Day, I think, for Jerry, unfortunately, because Robbie and Geel are going to be right on the back of him, running down in towards Maggots and Beckett's, then through Chapel, and on the run down towards Stowe corner at turn 15. Jensen, though, out on top. Now 2.3 seconds, 2.4 seconds clear. Steph in 2nd, Nemaya in 3rd. Nemaya trying to trouble Steph there for 2nd position. Axel there in 4th is doing a good job. But back on board with Geel on the back of Robbie, coming out of Chapel now on the run down the Hanger straight. Is he going to try and think about going for this move down this? I don't think, though, we're going to see any sort of moves running down this straight. Jensen, though, out on top. Steph in 2nd, Nemaya in 3rd. Jensen, though, every single bit of 5-second penalty that he's trying to work back so far is coming to fruition. And Steph, he knows that he's quicker than Steph. 2.4 seconds, 9 laps to go. He's only got to gain another 2.5 seconds, and he's pretty much home and hosed.
Yeah, he's got great pace at the front of this field. I think Jensen's actually a bigger worry for Jensen to win this race is actually Nemaya. Nemaya's managed to catch Steph very quickly and is on the back. So if Nemaya can get through and pass Steph, I think Jensen's going to have a much harder time keeping ahead of Nemaya than he would Steph at this point in the race, especially considering Nemaya's tyres are fresher. Is Nemaya going to go for the move here at Brooklands? He's on his ERS trying to maybe look to the inside, but not quite close enough in the braking zone. And yeah, he's got to get this move done now because they just continue to fall away from Jensen at the front of the field. So Nemaya's got to get through now and try and keep within that 5-second range. But yeah, in clean air with nobody threatening behind, Jensen is pushing like mad to try and keep this race win and try and close back in on Rowan in the championship. He's made it a lot harder for himself, but with everybody else making mistakes behind, it's given him an opportunity to still win this race. So we'll see what his pace is like, but
on the run down in towards Stowe corner, hopefully going to get this move done You hopefully all saw that. Again, OBS is acting up slightly, so apologies about that. Namai, though, through and he's into second. Steph there, down into third. You didn't see that move, was down the inside. Basically, 3 wide, by the way, towards Valen Club. Gil trying to go around the outside of both of them. Jerry on the middle of the track. Robbie on the inside. Ooh. How on earth are making it through there? A little bit of minimal contact between them both. 3 wide, though, it's a Valen Club. You have got to be kidding me in terms of that. Gil through on Robbie, he's through and he's into 6. Maybe a bit of force off track there. Jerry, I think, was a real sandwich and all that, and he's came out on top of all of that in 5th position. Gil in 6th, Robbie down to 7. Robbie will feel hard done by. Might have a look into getting that one removed in the stewards, but the best way you can think about, still in DRS range. He's got the pace. Now, get this move done out on track. And I think that's going to be his priority. And speaking of moves, I think Gil's going to go for the move on Jerry to the outside line, dummies him to the inside line. Jerry pushes him onto the grass, but he's now gone off completely. Oh. Gil off the wall, off the line, into the gravel as well. That is so unfortunate, and that is honestly what happens when you move too far on track. Jerry now is under pressure from Robbie as a result, and Robbie all the way down now and towards Cop's corner. He's on the inside line, and Jerry, I think, has just got to come out on top, and Robbie, to be fair, doesn't want to go for the move as Aquila now side by side with Gil in towards Cop's corner. Beautiful move down the inside line. Aquila through and he's into 7. Gil there in 8th. Harry there down in 9th. But Jerry, to be honest, questionable driving standards to say the least.
Yeah, definitely questionable. Far too much moving on the run down towards Brooklands. You just kept moving to the left and putting Gil on the grass, and that meant Gil's reference points were completely off for the braking zone for Brooklands, and he had grass on his tyres, and he completely missed the corner. So, yeah, that one's on Jerry. Far too aggressive of a defence there, unfortunately, for the Mercedes driver. Robbie trying to get the move done now as well on Jerry, but I think he's just seen that instant and is cautious of how he races the Mercedes. Yeah. He doesn't want to go for a bit of a move that's maybe a little bit high risk, because he thinks that he'll just spin off the side of that Mercedes. So I think he's going for something that's a little bit easier and less dangerous for himself. So we'll see if Robbie can get the move done and get up into 5th place. But yeah, Aquila now, opportunity for him to score a bit of a better result in this race. He's within penalty range of the 2 drivers in front. So at the moment, Aquila sits and net P5 in this race. So again, having a great performance for a second race of the season. Again, Aquila having a strong performance, running in the points for the majority of this race. So we'll see what he can do. As here comes Robbie down the inside into Brooklands. Is he going to get the move done on Jerry this time around? Jerry actually going to hold it round the outside, interestingly, of Robbie. He has the inside line for Luffield. Wow, Robbie on 5-lap-old mediums compared to 30-lap-old hards. Couldn't get the move done there, but he's going to get the switch back through Luffield and through Woodcourt. Lovely move. Robbie just waited for the right moment, got the move done, completed on the exit of the corner, and he's up into 5th place.
Yeah, and about time, I think, for Robbie. He was losing ERS as well, trying to get that move done. Jerry, though, on the back. In that hard compound tyre, those hards are fresh as anything else, and there might be the tyre. Remember those blue wall hard compound tyres a few years ago? No more in terms of the hard compound tyres. Here is Jerry's now going to attack. Look at the straight line speed, and he's going to go. Switching to the inside line, dummies in. Robbie knows. Down the inside goes Jerry. He's back through and he's into 5th as Robbie now tries to fight it side by side. Coming out of Stowe, now down in toward Vale and Club corners. But Robbie, fair play to Robbie, doesn't want to go for a bit of a harsh move. We've seen some very, very aggressive moves in this race so far, and Robbie being probably the best driver out on track, I think, in terms of awareness and in terms of racecraft. Good to see, and that is, I think, an example that everybody, no matter what tier you're in, should follow, as now Robbie's going to try and attack in towards Village at turn number 3. Thought he was going to try and cheeky lunge down the inside line. Now for the inside of turn number 4, into the loop. He's not going to get the job done. Jensen leads the way, by the way, 3.2 seconds. Nemaya has not gained time, has not lost time either. Robbie, though, still on the back of Jerry. On the run down in toward Brooklands corner. A little bit of gross mowing there from Jerry. To the inside line goes Robbie once again. In toward Brooklands. Going to be contacted. He's not careful. Jerry hangs on around the outside line, really favours him. And now, getting involved in this, potentially Aquila as Robbie, I think, forced the move there on Jerry. And he's through and he's into 5th. And I think there was contact there, wasn't there?
There was definitely contact in Brooklands, but that was more on Robbie just understeering it to the side. I think Jerry just got a little bit too trigger happy on the throttle through Luffield and lost the rear of the car, and that's why he's falling back behind. But interestingly, 14-lap-old hards compared to 6-lap-old mediums, and there is not a big pace difference between the two. These medium compound tyres don't look like that good of a tyre really around here, do they? It seems to be the hards that are the best tyre. Also, Jerry's car is incredibly fast in the straight line despite also derating. Is he close enough to Robbie to have a move into Stowe? He's going to go around the outside this time around. He just doesn't have the grip on the outside line to pull that move off. But that Mercedes is so fast in a straight line. By the way, I've just noticed Jensen's made a mistake somewhere because he's lost a second to Nemaya, and Nemaya's now only 2 seconds behind. So crucially for Jensen, he's made a mistake. And what that has done as well is given half an opportunity to Ace to try and get back within range as well. So if Ace can find a little bit more time, or if Jensen makes another mistake, then he drops completely off the podium.
I have a feeling that was either coming out of Stowe or in toward Vale and Club. I don't think it was Vale and Club, though, because the gap was already 2.1 seconds coming through there. So it was somewhere out on track, either Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel, Stowe, that sort of area out on track. So Jensen there in the lead, still 2.1 seconds. That 5-second penalty that he wanted to try and remove himself of, don't think is going to happen now after that mistake. I can only assume it was a big half spin potentially for Jensen. I'm sure we'll try and get a word with him either tonight or maybe at another time, depending on how much my voice is going to last towards the end of this race. Jensen though out on top, Nemaya in second, Steph there in third, Jerry's still on the back, but welcome to the party, Aguila, who has brought the tequila, Gil in 8th, and Harry there in 9th. The FVR boys are right on the back of this as well. And Akila there, 6 laps on those set of medium compounder tyres. Jerry on 15 laps. Theoretically, he should be quicker. Will he be, though?
It's going to be hard. I think we've already seen from Jerry's point of view, that car is so fast in a straight line that I think Akila's going to have to hope either for a mistake or for Jerry to lose DRS range to Robbie in front to lose that. But again, for Akila, at this point of the race, it's going to be less about overtaking them and more about keeping ahead of Gil and Harry, because Gil and Harry behind don't have any penalties. He's racing them for position. Robbie and Jerry do have penalties, so he's going to get them on track anyway if it stays like this. I think Akila now just needs to focus on keeping Gil and Harry behind rather than risking anything too crazy over Jerry, unless of course Jerry does lose range to Robbie and Robbie starts pulling away. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But right now, Akila doesn't need to go for anything too high risk. He can just sit where he is and bring home a P5 finish in his second race of the season. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on what he can do. By the way, in the race for the lead, a big wobble out of that corner there, but we've got away with it. But yeah, as just a note for the lead, Nemaya is getting the gap down to just under 2 seconds, so Jensen can't continue to pull away on those tyres. And actually, one good thing here for Akila as well is because he's been running on his own for the majority of this race, he has built up a big reserve of ERS. The 2 drivers in front don't have any ERS to play with. Gil behind has about 30%, so does Harry, but Akila's up at 70%, so he has got a lot to attack and defend with.
Jensen just picked up another 3-second penalty, so that is it. He could be off the podium potentially. I just saw that on the top end of the screen, as I think another penalty was picked up further down the field. I think it might have been Axe potentially, or Lime Bartlett. Axe actually hasn't got a penalty, so I don't know why he's picked up a penalty there, to be honest. Gil's on the back of Akila on the back of Jerry as well, and Jensen's round coming out of Stowe.
Yeah, he's dropped it completely. Tank slapper on the exit of the corner. Don't know if he's pushing too hard to overheat those tyres, but you can clearly see the frustration's got the better of him, and he's going to bring it into the pit lane, and he's actually retired before he's got to the pit lane. So is that going to be a late safety car call? Yes, it is. Oh, Jensen.
Oh, no.
Jensen, that is such a silly mistake there from the Ferrari driver. I get he's frustrated. I get the race has not gone the way he would have wanted, but that has potentially cost some other drivers in this field a good result, and that is not what you want to see at all. And yeah, perfect opportunity for Jensen to get back within range in the title race, and he has completely blown it.
Yep, and that can only be down to one thing, and that is his own mentality, you could argue, as well, in terms of that. We know the frustration from these league races. I mean, Commentalist goes through it every single week in LOE, but Jensen there, down in 14, it is so sad to see. Honestly, it is so sad to see. A guy that has honestly been so much, I think, on top. I mean, season 12 champion, and he goes and does that. Season 12 champion, and he goes and spins into the pit lane, causes a safety car, and the stewards might look on to that and think, is that enough? Is that honestly enough to actually push him out of a potential position? Not saying it will, but that his actions basically could have just let him off into a whole different world, I think, of potential penalties and potential arguments that could happen after this race. It is so sad to see, as I say. We know Jensen's pace. We commentate on him every single week. Week in and week out, we commentate on him. We know he's got the pace. He needs to believe in himself, I think. Is the belief actually well and truly there? If it is not, best to take a break away. If it is, still try and go, as actually Steph nearly runs into the back of Nemaya, and these guys are fighting side by side into the pit lane. Luckily, Nemaya, though, was ahead, and Steph actually goes into the back of him, and they've both picked up a 5-second penalty, I think. It's Nemaya that's picked up a 5-second penalty. He will get that one cheekily removed, definitely. Axe, by the way, continues on, and Axe now leads the race here at Silverstone. Nemaya has picked up a 5-second penalty for braking early into the pit lane. Steph has gone into the back of him. It should have been Steph that picked up the 5-second penalty there. both going for soft compound tires. Robbie stays out as well. This potentially could be curtains for Nemaya. Majority of drivers are staying out. Akila, Gil, Harry, all staying out. Nemaya and Steph, for me, this is the wrong call.
Yeah, for me, this is the wrong call as well. I don't know why they've done this. There's only going to be 2 laps left of racing when we come back to the start-finish line. That is not enough time to gain 7 places. And with Nemaya's penalty now, Nemaya is going to be so frustrated with that. That is so unlucky. I don't know why he was so slow coming into the pit lane anyway, and why Steph had to run so close to the back of him. But yeah, but then being pushed into the pit lane, into speeding, that is going to be such a shame for Nemaya. We'll see if he can get that one removed, maybe. And that could be potentially some positions gained back. But either way, he's put himself 6 places off of where he was. And, of course, he was on the freshest set of medium compound tyres out of anybody at the front of the field. So he had the advantage at the front of the field anyway. I don't understand this move from Nemaya or Steph. They were in comfortable positions, and now they've put themselves well down the back of the field. And only 2 laps left in this race. There's going to have to be a massive pace delta for them to gain anything from this, and I don't see that happening. So, yeah, this just feels like Nemaya and Steph are throwing away a 1-2 finish of the 2 of them now. And now Ace, like you say, in prime position. Robbie has a penalty in second, so now all of a sudden Akila running in 3rd position in only his 2nd race in the top division, running in 3rd, net 2nd position here, has a great opportunity getting his first
Safety
podium.
car's in! And the safety car's in this lap as well. Michael Massey is well and truly bringing us to the boil, I think, tonight in terms of the stewarding out on track here. Lime Varda trying to desperately catch up. I think Jerry, Lime Varda, Carol Feliz will be fine. Krypton and Fedis Piga have got to hope that Axe does not go early. Otherwise, they're in big trouble to get onto the rack, and they may as well just call it quits. Potentially out on track there. Fedis Piga's picked up a 3-second penalty. They're trying to rush basically onto the back of the safety car queue, and they're rushing to pick up penalties as well. It is literally no dire straits, and Axe goes early. Axe is already gone as I go above downstream by mistake, but Axe is already gone. Down in towards Vale, down in towards Club. Axe leads the way. Robbie all over the back of him. Hot on his heels in 2nd. Akila there in 3rd. Oof. And the front 2 pulled away, and Akila's made a huge mistake coming out of Club corner, and that is him wide. I think he's going to be side by side maybe with Harry on the run down in towards turn 1, but Akila runs wide coming out of Vale and Club, and now he's down in 4th, and that Division 2 potential win here, or Division 1 potential win, has gone up in smoke perhaps, as now the Red Bull of Harry doves it down the inside line. It's Noah's Ark formation, and behind, coming through the loop, Steph going side by side with Jerry, Nemaya going side by side with the Rocker, and they're still side by side on the exit. And there's a huge crash, and a Rocker, I think, got caught there with Nemaya. Nemaya's on the outside now of Harry, running down in towards the right hand, the left hander of Brooklands, tries to go for the up and under. Axe leads the way, Robbie in 2nd, Gil in 3rd. These guys on the southern softs have got to be very careful, and a small contact, and it's getting very, very silly now out on track between these guys. Steph, Jerry and Nine Violet are now going to be 3 wide perhaps down the straight. Now they calm it down, luckily. Axe leads the way, Robbie in 2nd, Gil in 3rd, all being brought to the ball, and unfortunately for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, a rocker got run into the back of there on the run out of Aintree. Unfortunately, it was just so slow, having to back off from Nemaya overtaking him as Steph just ran clean into the back, and then Steph tried to make it 3 wide in the middle of Lovefield between himself, Nemaya, and Harry, and Steph ended up spinning Nemaya into the side of Harry's car. So, yeah, 2 big mistakes there from Steph that I fear quite a few penalties could be coming his way because of that. And I think Nemaya potentially has some front wing damage from that contact as well. So any more places he could have gained, I think, are gone. Akila, what a shame for that mistake as well, for him to drop behind Gil in the position order. At the moment, I think he's just holding on to a podium position at the moment as Jerry has retired in the pit lane, unfortunately, at the end of that one.
Yeah, left side input.
Last lap of this race, Akila should just be able to hold on for that final spot. Yeah, left side input damage, like you say. I think he should be able to hold on to that final spot on the podium should Akila with that mistake. Unfortunately for him, it's not going to be 2nd, but potentially 3rd, unless Steph can get through. But yeah, you can see Akila on those medium compound tyres really struggling for pace. And here comes Nemaya. He's going to breeze past, I think, down this straight. But what could have been an easy win for Nemaya has ended up only at best 4th, and he's still got that penalty. And if it is a legit penalty, then he's going to drop even further down the field. So I think Nemaya's just blown an easy win here.
Yeah, he has, and it's really, really a big shame, I think, for him. Steph on the back of his teammate as well, on the run down in towards Cup's corner. This race had all the hallmarks for being a good race. In the end, proven in the first 23, 24 laps of the race before the safety cars. Gil has just picked up a penalty as well. And Steph now trying to go all the way around the outside of Maggots and Beckers for not getting the job done. But Gil now picking up a penalty. That is now curtains, I think, for him in terms of the podium. Akila is looking good, potentially for a podium, as long as he doesn't get passed by his own teammate on the run down the straight here. We are on the final lap, by the way, and I am still on board with this Alpine battle because I want to see how it ends. Steph on the back of Aquila. Aquila there in fifth. Steph in sixth. The remain as they are. And Aquila runs wide once again. But right on board with the leader, Axe. Now coming through the final couple of corners through Vale and Club in a dramatic Silverstone Grand Prix. Axe ran the final corner, takes the win here in Britain. With Dios getting nailed on the final lap. Robbie there in second. Aquila in the end does get that podium nearly side by side with his teammate across the line as well. To finish in third. 300ths of a second off second as well. Steph 700ths of a second. And Carol Felinas in sixth. 3,000ths of a second off Giel in the end. That is absolutely mad in terms of the penalties. Nemaya there down in seventh. 5-second penalty gets removed. He could potentially be on the podium at least, maybe second or third, I think, in terms of that 5-second penalty removal if he does want to try and get that removed. Dan Spreen and a Rocker, by the way. Rocker's absolutely crashed through the final corner on the run to the line, and Dan Spreen just cascades into the side of him there. Coming across the line, he finishes in turn in P13. And what was shaping up to be a really good race, ruined, I think, by the actions of one driver that caused a very late safety car, which is unfortunate. Aquila, though, picks up driver of the day. And do you know what? He absolutely deserves it, I think, out on track. But to the top step of the podium, FVR Axe, with what can only be considered potentially as a lucky win.
Yeah, potentially it could be considered that, but at the same time, he kept it on the road. He didn't make any mistakes, didn't pick up any penalties, was on the right strategy. So I think it's obviously things have fallen into his lap and luck has played a part in that. But at the same time, you've got to be there to pick up the pieces when those people in front of you make mistakes. And Axe was there all race long. He was racing at the front for the majority of that one, racing for podium position. But at the end of the race, of course, Jensen dropped it by himself. And then we've got people pitting like Steph and Nemaya, who were just ahead of him as well, making their own mistakes. So yeah, Axe obviously not on paper, not the fastest driver tonight, and wouldn't have been en route to win this race in other circumstances, but he was there to pick up the pieces, and that is a well-deserved win for him, even if he didn't win it on pure pace. So congratulations to Axe for his first win of the season. And yeah, like you say, Aquila, second race of the championship. He had such a great race last time out in Australia, but didn't get the result. This time around, he does get the result, and it's a podium in only his second race in the top division as well. From 14th on the grid as well, around Silverstone, which is a traditionally hard track to overtake on. That is a really, really good result from Aquila, so hats off to him. And hats off to Robbie as well for being able to hold on to a podium, even with that penalty at the end. So, yeah, congrats to all of our top three. 3 great races from 3 different drivers.
Yeah, Axe out on top, Robbie in second, Aquila there in third, Steph in fourth. Big points all for Alpine there in the constructors as well. Giel, Karafalias, Nemaya, Line Violet, Harry, and Krypton. Harry down in ninth in the end, Krypton in 10th. Feathers, Pigaro, Rocket, Dan, Spreen, Jerry, Jensen, Frankie, Mika, Smalley, Lars Kramer, and Noah. Quite a few retirements. Noah didn't even make it through the end of the first lap, unfortunately, for the Welshman there, for the Shazoo Academy driver. But that was an absolute mad race here, of course. I think in terms of my voice, I don't think it's going to be capable of carrying on for interviews. I definitely need a rest, I think, after that. So we'll skip interviews once again for another week, but we'll be back next week with them, I do promise, even if it does kill me in terms of my voice in doing them. Looking at the calendar, though, coming into the rest of the season, we're back sprint racing next week in Belgium for round number 6 on the 23rd of September. And that, of course, is going to be a big day because that's mini budget day, of course, here in the UK, where tax cutting hits now take measures potentially from the new Chancellor. But Belgium for round 6 of the championship, historic track, longest on the F1 calendar, should be a good race.
It should be, yeah. Hopefully, it is a good race. I mean, today was a good race, but a little bit chaotic. Hopefully, it's not Spain, Spa. There we go. Is a little bit of an easy, better race in terms of actual on-track racing standards. But hopefully, it is a good race. And yeah, there's always weather playing a part around a Spa and things like that as well. It's a difficult track, so I'm sure it's going to spring up a couple of surprises and be a good race as well. And hopefully, for Jensen, for his championship, this is an opportunity for him to just take a breather, rebuild, and then try again next time out. It was such a great opportunity for him to try and close in on the championship leader today, and he didn't take advantage of it. And because of that final safety car that he caused, that actually gave Karafalides the opportunity to get back in the points. So Karafalides has now jumped Jensen in the standings. So overall, not a great night for Jensen, but we know he's got the pace. He showed it today. He had the pace all race long, but just couldn't finish it off. If he can just take a breather, take a couple of days just to refocus again, he's got the pace, and he can come back next time at Belgium and fight for that win.
Yeah, definitely so. And obviously, if if anybody does give him a bit of criticism of what happened, I can understand the reasoning around it, but now is probably not the time to be complaining on social media or whatever about his driving about that late safety car here in WOR. Looking through the rest of the calendar as well while we run through Canada on the 30th of September, then it's Italy on the 7th of October, and Spain, not Spa, Spain on the 14th of October for round number 9, and then Abu Dhabi for round 10 on the 21st of October. 28th for Singapore. Who put Singapore on the calendar? I do not know. November 6th as well for Japan on the day after Bonfire Night, in fact. Halloween as well, going to be interesting for Japan. Then Mexico, bit of a... I think we haven't got a break week until the end of the season, actually. Mexico for round number 13, and then Brazil, and then ending off our season in Saudi Arabia, which should be very interesting indeed. Hopefully, though, you did enjoy that. If you did, of course, like, comment, subscribe, take that notification bell, of course, if you're brand new. If you did tune over from the Legacy Division as well, thank you so much. We need every bit of viewer we can get, I think, in terms of competing against Legacy's Division at the same time, at the on the same channel as well. But hopefully you did appreciate the commentary, and if you did, of course, you can follow us on Twitter, which I have not got our cameras on, by the way, at this moment in time. In fact, I'll stick mine on comments, as unfortunately I've got rid of the Discord capture thing that we did earlier on. But so they can't see your bucket hat, unfortunately, which I think maybe good news for some people, maybe not, but still. But yeah, there are our Twitters, ttg_head, and Carl Mentalist, of course, on Twitter as well. So if you do want to follow us on there and ratify our commentary, if you don't want to ratify our commentary and actually give us some compliments, you can do that as well. And we'll be more than happy, of course, to go through it. As, of course, we go to Belgium for round number 6 of the championship next week for the Belgian Grand Prix. We are now reaching the end of our broadcast, though. We'll take a final word from our sponsors, of course, Gridfinder and SimStaff, of course. I really hope you did enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.